Hello and welcome to the Midwest Dynasty Fantasy Baseball Podcast, where we break down a 10-team Dynasty Fantasy Baseball League every single week. This week, we're doing something a little bit different. And as always, I brought along my esteemed guest, Cody Holla. Cody, what's on the haps?
What's on the haps? I don't know. I'm wishing some apps were on the haps.
Not an expression you're used to hearing?
No, most people, no. I don't even want to say what most people do. I'm just not used to hearing that.
Most people are normal, Tom.
I think you just kind of throw me off when you say something like that. I just don't know what to say.
That's the point. I'm trying to make you look bad so I look really good on our podcast.
I feel really bad right now.
Good.
But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that we're actually going to be able to discuss, the actual draft board, be able to see what teams did well, what teams maybe didn't do so well, and honestly see where everybody landed.
Yeah, so to Cody's point, this week, our goal is to make this a shorter podcast, hopefully, that really just focuses on one topic, which is something we didn't do before we did our week one analysis last week. But this week, it's just going to be strictly talking about the draft. And it'll be fun to actually get a chance between the two of us to really look at it and consider who we thought maybe won, and consider who might have lost, and consider who actually came out. In my opinion, there's a couple picks that were huge steals. So it'd be kind of fun to talk about that, huh?
Yeah. How many of those picks are yours?
Oh, yeah. Well,
probably every single one.
3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5.
Yeah, five. Yeah, I bet.
So steals.
Yeah, I bet.
So on that note, let's just jump right into it, Codes. Why don't you go ahead and share your little draft board that you created, like the little cute little commissioner you are?
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Perfect. Right off the bat, so we did do a bit of a podcast, and I don't know how many people actually watched it, but we did a quick introduction to the league in March, and we went over a lot of our rule changes, and we also talked about the draft coming up. And you and I both discussed that it was pretty much the Trevor Lawrence situation here with Sam. He's going to take Spencer Torkelson.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly the best player in this draft, in my opinion. And by most experts' opinions, especially what I saw on Fantasy Pros, he was the number one pick that they would have, especially for a rebuilding team. I still buy into the fact that there are two different sets of rankings for each individual team. There is rankings for teams that are trying to compete now, and there are rankings for teams that are trying to rebuild. And that's how trades are able to work out, is because the value can be the same on each side, but maybe like on like a overall, they might not be. But I think it's clear on Spencer Torkelson that he's just high up on, both of those sides.
Yes. Although, as you say that, I do think that if someone that was competitive happened to be in that first overall pick, I think you could make an argument segueing naturally into our next pick here that either Randy Arozarena or Trent Grisham could be a strong candidate for that 101 if you were trying to compete this year.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I think you could have tried to just trade down. I get that there wasn't a ton of movement in round one this year, and that there was actually some, difficulty for trying to trade those picks. But that's how it always goes. But I think, Randy Arozarena and Trent Grisham were kind of 1A and 1B to me, especially when it comes to like outside of Torkelson.
For bats, for sure.
Yeah, for bats and outfielders more specifically. And yeah, I think those two are just, it's good to see that they went exactly where I thought they should go.
Yeah, I agree. And pretty interchangeable. That's all opinion based. As we discussed in our last podcast before, between the two of those, it was basically either do you want to buy into the breakout of Arozarena that was late and really just playoff oriented, or do you want to maybe buy the higher floor of Trent Grisham? So Neither of those picks were wrong.
No, perfectly right.
And then we move into pick 4. Well, I do want to quickly note, actually, kind of cool that those top 3 picks, all being bats, all in my eyes, just from looking again at what I was looking at for my rankings, those are all top 100 players in Dynasty. So really cool that those 3 teams that are clearly trying to rebuild, debatably maybe on Alex's side, but at least all 3 of those teams got a good player.
Yeah, they got a solid outfielder, or I guess in Spencer Torkelson's place, probably a solid third baseman for the years to come. I mean, yeah, those are impact bats that you just don't get. Or if you do, it's from having them as a prospect and then waiting for them to come up. Again, with Torkelson kind of being the exception to the rule, but Spencer Torkelson's ceiling is just so high.
Exactly. And pick 104, Corbin Burns, also stock or chalk to me personally.
Yeah.
I really like him. And it's funny because if we would have done this podcast maybe, 3 weeks ago when after the draft was over, we would be saying, it's the concerns with Corbin Burns was, can he do it again? That last season could have been a flash in the pan, but he's already had 3 starts this year now, and they were all ridiculous. Like, he is an ace.
Yeah, he was easily the number 1 pitcher that was going to come off this board. Like, to me, there was some discussion around Zach Plesac also, but Corbin Burns was the guy that he had the K per 9 to back it up, and that was the major difference between analyzing them. You do worry a little bit with the track record of Brewers pitchers, especially ones that have had good seasons. So I understand the concern there, but to me, he's I've watched him pitch. He is explosive. He's actually kind of garnishing the hype that he should have, why he received it when he came up 2 or 3 years ago, because he's really good. He has a great breaking ball, locates really well. I think that was a solid pick for Gronley, especially to help repair a pitching staff that is really young and kind of aid to that, especially as pitchers become more and more scarce.
Yeah, and again, Dynasty baseball theory, Gronley has identified that he wants to be a competitive team. So for him to get Burns to fall there to him, the reason I brought up the Dynasty theory thing was because pitching is often the last thing that you get really to compete. So if that is still his modus operandi, great fit for him.
Yeah, he might be going the opposite route, though. I mean, he might actually be doing the pitching first, batting second, which I think it actually is the direction he's going in. Yeah, I think it can work. I mean, if you're able to win like 3 categories and that's what you're trying to go for consecutively. Also, I mean, his pitching is young, and we are seeing pitchers last longer than what they historically have lasted. And I think that has a lot to do with science coming out, with pitch counts and kind of holding guys too.
The concern with pitching is never, in my eyes, it was never their durability as far as how long their career is. To me, it was more about that in any instance, their chance of just taking an entire year and a half off because of Tommy John is the concern.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it. It's funny because I agree with you that longevity of careers might be longer, and the hit rate is probably a little bit higher. But we're seeing Tommy John almost more.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I actually think the injury risk is there, as well as the variability year to year.
Yeah.
I think actual pitchers, hitters, what you're generally going to get out of them every single year for the most part. Obviously guys can, exceed or go down a little bit too, but pitchers are the guys that can absolutely blow up one year and then be great again the next year. Or they can be 1-year wonders. You never know. Like if it's a Baldo Jimenez,
right?
You win a Cy Young or just about for Colorado, and then you never have another good season again. So it's so hard to tell.
Yeah. The final point I'll say is the reason I normally say pitching you want to get last is because from a prospect perspective too, the hit rate on pitching prospects is so much lower and also just takes so much longer for them to develop. So
yeah, that's the biggest thing that you just said it right there, especially from the way we've been analyzing it. It's the length. It's just like it actually takes them like 2 or 3 years until they figure it out. In the majors, 2 or 3 years. It's like you have 2 or 3 years in the minors and then 2 or 3 years in the majors if they're going to figure it out. And that's such a long investment if they still don't figure it out after that. Like, it's crazy. I mean, I drafted Lucas Giolito, at the beginning of this, and then at the end of that year, I was like, I can't have him anymore. Like he has a 5 ERA. He doesn't look like he's improving at all. And then all out of nowhere, the next year, boom, he goes off, and now he's a top 20, debatably top 15 pitcher.
Doesn't look like he's going to return from grace either.
No, I think he's going to stay up there.
This is his third legitimate year. So
yep.
Moving into pick 105, Sam, once again, this is actually his natural pick that he was supposed to have. And no surprises from his team. This goes back into what Sam's trying to do, which is complete rebuild. There are some very good players that we'll touch on next, still on the board here at this pick, but he took the arguably best prospect available.
Yeah, no, he did. And I mean, Austin Martin should have gone top 10 on this board. Did he go a little bit high? Maybe. But again, it doesn't matter because it's about what Sam's going to be valuing for players right now compared to what was still available.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a second prospect. He's going to be he's on the Blue Jays team too, which is all full of young guys right now. If he ever goes up there, he also is like one of the most naturally, take it how you want to, but like is like one of the most natural hitters in that last draft, as far as like some people had him above Torkelson. I don't agree with that, but I did read it a couple places, and I think that's a little bit too much. He gets a lot of comparisons to Anthony Rendon in the way that his swing approaches too.
Yeah. Pick 106, Gronley, got it from you in a trade earlier, which we actually did talk about that trade on a couple podcasts ago. And this is a great pick to me. Again, if we're buying into what Gronley's trying to do here, which is compete, and you get the best reliever on the board now, James Karinchak, who had a bit of a breakout last year, which is not uncommon for relievers to just come out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden they have the job. It happens all the time. So do you like that pick there?
I didn't mind it during the draft. Now that I have another season again to look at relief pitchers, I don't. I don't think it's the right pick. Karinchak, and I get that this is 2020 hindsight. If he was getting all these saves and he was doing really good, I'd probably say that, yep, he's just fine right there. But it's not just him too on this relief pitcher market that we saw that went. There were other relievers on this board. Like one
Younger
other
ones
one
too.
Yeah, they're all young, but they're not having as dominant of a season as they did last year, or they're not actually the save closers that we thought that they were going to be. Do they have value? Yes. Should they be drafted? Yes. Like maybe even round 2, but looking at options that were still available at this time, I don't think it was the right pick personally.
Yeah, I understand. I think that I think this is probably the highest pick that shouldn't have been this high. I think that this pick could have gone in the second round, arguably, which is why I say that this is the right pick if you need a reliever, and this is like one of the last relievers you need to compete. I just think we disagree on it because we don't necessarily think Gronley is 100% there yet.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of other options that would have added way more value to his team at this pick, but that's totally fine. I get where he's trying to round his team out right now.
Yep, I get you. So Dylan's pick, Brandon Marsh. I know I was a little surprised when I saw this pick too, because I also think that, I mean, again, I have no problem with him. It's just that I think he was bit early too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I got him last draft. I got him in the 3rd round,
right?
And then I wasn't able to keep him, so I obviously let him go.
And his stock didn't rise that much.
Well, no, it didn't move at all. It just stayed the same. And the biggest issue with him too is, where is he going to play? He's an outfielder by nature. They have Joe Adell already on that team. They have Mike Trout, which are predominantly going to be the 2 spots. Does he take over that last spot? First base, it's looking like they're really trying to get Jared Walsh involved. I just think the ceiling potential wasn't really there, especially in comparison to other players on the board.
Right.
I would say from a prospect perspective, he was maybe my number 6 prospect on the board, I want to say, from where I actually had him. It was somewhere between 5 and 8 is where I had him at on my prospect board.
For my draft board, which is slanted towards winning now.
Yeah.
So biased, but he was my 28th overall pick for this draft.
Yeah, I think that's
like
fair.
3rd round.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's like where he should have been, especially looking at where other prospects when they win.
And in majors players right now
Yeah.
that are performing well, especially because Dylan is trying to compete too. So
Yeah.
I was a little weirded out by that, but we've been wrong on picks before too.
Yeah, I feel like we've been wrong more than we've been right. So who knows? He might know something we don't. If so, kudos to him, and I hope it works out for him.
So a pick that, again, continues with Sam's strategy here, Zach Veen. Not much to say about him, but I guess you can say that I know you really like him as a prospect.
Yeah, I do. I think he has I know where people were talking about Austin Martin maybe being the best bat. I think the highest ceiling of batting might be Zach Veen in the draft, just because he is a high schooler and he just came out from there and they loved his bat. I think he's obviously, I said this about Austin Martin. I think Zach Veen actually should have been like a late second round pick, maybe mid, but I don't fault Sam at all. Who else? When I'm looking at the players he could have taken, nobody else agrees with his team as much as Zach Veen.
Right.
So I actually think, looking at it from a cumulative perspective, I actually think getting the top 3 prospects is amazing. That's a great first round for Sam.
I agree. However, I will say, in my opinion, the next pick, it was an awesome candidate too, because I think this is the steal of the first round by far, and that's Zach Plesac.
I could not agree more.
It's funny that Matt loves to get his Cleveland pitchers that have the breakouts, but the funny thing is Plesac actually had a way better track record drafted here than Shane Bieber drafted a couple of years ago when Matt got him. Shane Bieber at the time, if no one remembers, we'll just jog your memory. He was taken second overall by Matt, or was it first?
No,
second overall in our previous draft a couple years ago, and that was right when Matt joined the league, and we all kind of scorned it and thought it was ridiculous because Bieber's last year he was like a top 40 prospect that came in and then had like command issues, and he was supposed to be a command pitcher, so we all scorned it, and now he's the number 1 pitcher in dynasty baseball. So boy, did we look stupid.
Yeah, he was maybe like a top 40 pitcher or a top 45 pitcher.
Yep.
Like at the time, like he was between that range. And then, he took off and the breaking ball was working. And then, he's the number 1 dynasty pitcher right now.
Yep. So I don't think Plesac is Shane Bieber, but I still think it's a great pick. And I think he's had pretty good success this year, even over 3-4 starts.
Yeah, he's looked good again. The K per 9 can kind of be the issue there. I know we don't track K per 9, but as far as like the actual strikeouts he gets with the start is like, again, the only reason he fell compared to Corbin Burns to me. He just doesn't have the same strikeout numbers, but the track record with Cleveland pitchers is so good that I just like see it and I don't even question it. I'm just like, oh, it's going to work out.
Yep. I actually think if we're doing a redraft, so this is kind of an interesting part of this analysis here. If I would argue that that's who Grunley should have taken at 6 is Zach Plesac instead of Karen Check.
Yeah, I would either say that or the number 10th pick that you got, but I think that's probably who he should have gotten.
If he was still looking for that whole, I need more pitching here.
Yeah, I agree. Because if you're able to actually add Corbin Burns and Plesac, that's
he would have won the draft off those 2 picks. I think.
It would have been close because that actually cements your pitching.
Yeah, because even Plesac at 6 to me is like not a steal, but you're happy for him to fall there. I had Plesac 5 overall in my pre-draft rankings.
Yeah, I did too. I had him right around there, falling right after Corbin Burns.
So crazy. Yeah. Really love that pick from Matt for sure.
Yep.
He's clearly knows what he's doing with his team. Or he just made a lucky pick. Who knows?
Just happy that he fell to him and then was like, oh, he's available. I'm going to snatch him up.
Yep, exactly. So my pick, I got Teoscar Hernandez, which I was thrilled with.
Yeah.
Because he was my, let me check my rankings again quick. I think I had him. Yeah, I had him right after Plesac in my rankings, which maybe is a little bit high. Yeah, but again, slanted towards winning now. So he was my 6th overall guy. And it's because I needed a right fielder. So I was absolutely like thrilled with a guy that to me is going to be like, or was projected at least to be like a top 60 batter.
Yeah.
Specifically. So.
Yeah. I actually think he went right where I thought he was going to go at number 10 right there. I thought there were a couple actually outfielders that I assumed were going to be higher than him that didn't actually go till later. But that's okay. To me, what I looked at is he had the best statistics out of any of the outfielders that were drafted. However, there's a lot of concerns with the strikeout rate that he has, which is astronomically high. Can he keep up his hard hit percentage for where it's at? Is he that type of a hitter? And I think he's still going to be good going forward. And I think like I said, he's a first round talent. He still went where he was supposed to go.
Yeah. So I was happy with that to address my right field position. And then he got COVID. So
yeah.
So who's the winner of the first round?
The winner of the first round to me is Sam. I get that it comes from him just having all those picks, but at the same point, he was the one that was able to build into his strategy the most. And that's why I take it away that he got the win there. Had he not been able to get like a couple of those prospects, I don't know if he would have won it for me, or had Gronley, like you said, taken Zach Plesac. I think Gronley would have been my winner then, but based off of what he needed, he got what he needed.
Yeah, if Gronley takes Plesac, he wins that by a ton. Not by a ton, actually. It's pretty close.
Yep.
But I actually think Matt is the second winner of it because of just getting Plesac so late.
Yeah, he's the one who gets the steal of the first round, for sure.
I mean, you go to the championship and then you get Plesac, like the next year in the draft, like, okay.
I know. It makes up for any comp pick that he had.
That's what I was just going to say.
Which is Zach Greinke.
Plesac, right, exactly. Like Plesac's value is that of a comp pick.
Yep.
Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, awesome for him. All right, let's jump into the second round. This is actually a pretty fun round. A lot of good names here. Actually, you can make the argument this round is more interesting than the last one. So
this one was very interesting to watch. The first half of the first round to me made sense. Yeah, and then with like some surprises in the second half. The second round was crazy as I'm watching these guys come off. I was like, there were some really good picks. I was really surprised.
Yeah, all 11 of these, including the comp pick, these are all names.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. This draft was just stocked. So right off the bat, Devin Williams, who you alluded to earlier in the James Karinchak discussion. I'm sure he's the one that you thought should have been the pick that if you're going to go reliever, you take Williams.
Yeah, I thought so too, just given his statistics that he had, just based off of everything. And given the fact that there had always been just Josh Hader trade rumors and that Devin Williams could take it over. I think he's a little bit younger, but I don't know. I kind of had them as a push to me between Devin Williams and Karinchak. I had William and Karinchak going in like about the mid second round, maybe early second round. So, Devin Williams is about where he should be to me. Maybe a little bit high, but given what talent was still out there, he was high to me. But even still, if you needed a reliever, which Nick's, winning this year, he made a trade for JD Martinez. He made a trade for Aroldis Chapman. So he's trying to go for something this year. So if that's what he needed, then that was a good pick.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually feel like I feel the exact same way, and I can tell you if I had this pick, I would have taken Devin Williams here. So it's kind of funny that it's all team need dependent. So, great pick, in my opinion.
Yeah.
202, Alex took Tristan Casas. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I like to think that I know about every player. I don't know much about Tristan Casas, but what I do know is that I didn't have him very highly ranked on my rankings pre.
Oh, I had him going in the second round.
Did you?
Yeah, okay. He was the number 4 prospect on my list. He was actually just a little bit behind Zach Veen. On most people's prospect rankings, at least on the one I looked on Fantrax, he was within 25 to 20 range.
Yeah.
As far as top prospects out there right now. He's a huge first baseman on the Red Sox, expected to fully take over. They might move Bobby Dahlbeck to third base if that happens. Or they might not even give a shit about Bobby Dahlbeck because he's been sucking this year.
Right.
But yeah, he's expected to, come in, take over that first base position, just be a big slugger. He kind of like the Matt Olson type. Okay. So I actually think this is a really good pick at this position. I don't think he's the guy I would have taken exactly right here. I think there's a different first baseman I would have taken. But I do like the pick. He should have gone the second round.
Okay, that's like the one player that was the first player I honestly had to Google a bit in our draft, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Even though I did a lot of research. Again, because my slant towards trying to win, I didn't look as much into prospects.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then speaking of the second guy I had to Google after, only because I didn't watch any baseball last year, was Anthony's pick here at 203 and Garrett Crochet. And since I did research, I actually don't necessarily hate the pick. I just think this could have gone in like the 4th round and he still would have been there.
Yeah, I think he would have gone in the 3rd at least. A 3rd or maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit later. Because again, he is like the Devin Williams though. Like they're not that like obviously he didn't have the same stats, but the K per 9 is what eludes there. And if you look at Garrett Crochet's framework, like you just see Chris Sale. Like
that's what I was gonna say. I don't think he's Devin Williams in the sense that Devin Williams is like a bona fide save and hold god right now because he's going to get a ton of hold opportunities and sometimes saves. And that is not Garrett Crochet. The reason you buy Garrett Crochet is because you believe in him as a starting pitching prospect, in my eyes.
Interesting. I kind of disagree. I actually think he has a strong possibility to lead into that closer role eventually for that team if he doesn't go starting pitcher.
But my logic would be, if I'm Anthony's team, then
yeah,
that's not why I'm getting him. So it's like you can't have it both ways. If I'm Anthony's team, I don't want to get relievers right now.
Yep, I agree.
So then if he's getting Crochet because he thinks he's going to be a good reliever, I think that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So then it's the wrong logic it's like different logic for the wrong reason. Is what I'm getting at.
For the individual player, it maybe wasn't the right pick, but I'm saying at the spot he was taken, I don't think he should have fallen maybe that much because of the actual ceiling that he has on him. I mean, as far as stuff to stuff, he debatably has the best stuff out of any pitcher in this draft.
I agree. I just don't want to throw a dart at a reliever prospect because who knows what happens to reliever prospects. It's so
right.
wonky.
A reliever possible starter.
That's what I'm saying. If he is just a reliever, I don't want to buy into him.
Sure. I think that's fine. I think I agree. I think he went a little bit high, but I think maybe late 2nd round would have been appropriate for that.
Yeah.
Because if you could get the next Aroldis Chapman in the 2nd round, would you? Like I would. And he actually has that talent. That's what he throws.
Yeah. That's true. It's a high risk, high reward kind of pick there.
I don't even think it's that high of a risk, honestly. I think if he isn't the Aroldis Chapman, he's still going to be a good closer probably for many years because he's young. He just was drafted.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a closer right now.
No.
I'm not saying...
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'm saying he's going to have a role somewhere as something going forward. You don't throw that and have that. And the White Sox don't just call him literally to the major league squad as the year he was drafted.
Yeah.
And teams don't do that anymore. And the White Sox did that in a competitive setting. That tells me that they had so much confidence in this guy and they have so much expectations for this guy.
We'll have to have Anthony on the podcast to talk about this.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good discussion point.
It will be. So this is your pick, who you would have loved to have over Casas, and that's Dominic Smith. And we've talked about him before, actually, off the podcast. I like this pick too. I think it really just makes me wish Groundley would have taken Plesac at 106, because then getting Dominic Smith here would have been like, he wins the draft even more.
Yeah, this is a great pick. I was so sad he made this pick during the draft because I really wanted him. First base and left field eligibility.
Yep.
He literally covers the most two scarce places for position eligibility, and he's a strong power hitter who's young, who's coming off a great season, was a former top prospect. He checks all the boxes off for me.
And on a team that's going to be like stacked because of their prospects pretty soon here.
And the fact that they signed Lindor this year. It was only supposed to get better.
Yeah, so, exactly.
I know he hasn't gone off, but he's done fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's still Lindor. So yeah.
Oh, I meant Dominic Smith this year.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said yeah. No. Agreed. Yeah. No, I love that team moving forward. So just he's going to be going into lineup. He's also 25 already. So you're not waiting too long for that prime age coming up here.
Yeah.
So great pick.
Nope. I completely agree.
Yeah. Just for if anyone cares, he was my 109. pick, or he was
he was in the first round for me too. Yeah, he definitely was actually 108 for me.
I think that's who I would have liked Anthony to take instead of Crochet personally.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I thought he should have gone instead of Brandon Marsh.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, he should have been up there. He is way too high of a ceiling and way too good of stats to already support where he should have been drafted. But a great pickup for Gromley. Yeah,
for sure. Agreed. So the next two players, or I should say next two league members in you and Derek, your first picks of this draft. So Derek took from Sam from a trade. He took Clint Frazier, and I have no problem with this pick at all. win now again. I mean, we know his ceiling. We know his floor. Like, we know exactly what we're getting out of Clint. So personally, I like this pick, but I don't think you love it.
Well, I mean, I'm biased. I owned him and I didn't really like him. And I don't really think he's a viable starter on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. To me, he's not a long-term solution. And like, I get that he was a former top prospect. And I honestly think he is a good pick here. I had him probably going in the first 2 rounds. But again, I just don't, he just still is yet to break through completely. He kind of knows what he does and he does it decently well. But on a team like the Yankees, I think I always get worried too, because how long are the Yankees going to be content with a player like Clint Frazier starting on their team? Because it's the Yankees. And like, I would hope that hopefully he goes to a different squad and they're able to actually tap into that full potential, but you never know how it affects a guy. So a lot of risk with this player is what I would say.
I still liked it.
Yeah.
Just based off of what Derek wanted. Again, just
I agree.
about the team that got him.
For what's left there, I thought it was a fine pick for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And then you got the rookie of the year, who was my pick, 10th best player, Kyle Lewis. And yeah, I mean, this year he's not like that great, I'm pretty sure so far.
He's been injured.
Oh, that's why. Okay. That's why I haven't heard of anything of him. Yeah. So that makes sense. But I think it's a great pick. During the draft, I remember saying, like, I just was curious. I looked up all the rookie of the years and like the hit rate is just insane. It was like 95% hit rate for, if you're a rookie of the year, you're a stud for your whole career.
Yeah. I don't even expect him to be that good. I was like, fine. I mean, to me, I just needed him to be a good 4th outfielder, which I think he will be. And I like the fact that he has 5-tool potential. I like the fact that I think that team is an up and coming batting team. There were just a lot of things to really love with that team or with that pick. And like you said, I actually had him probably as my number 1 outfielder. I shouldn't say that. My number 3 outfielder after Randy Arozarena and Trent Grisham on my board personally.
Yeah, it was a nice pick for you for sure.
I was very lucky.
Yeah. And then followed that again. I don't know. I don't want to specifically call out Dylan's choices. I just don't like the Nick Gonzalez pick here either. But what do you think?
Yeah, I guess I think it's fine. It's funny because I actually like Nick Gonzalez more than I like Brandon Marsh. Actually how I feel about it. I think he's actually kind of going right where he should have been, but given what was still open for him to take, it wasn't who I thought he should have gone with, if that makes sense.
That it does.
Yeah. Like, if he was going up like Nick Gonzalez or Garrett Crochet at the time, I probably would have said Nick Gonzalez or Clint Frazier. I might have said Nick Gonzalez, but with some of these guys that we're still seeing below left, you know, especially the next guy, I don't think that was the right place to go to.
Yeah, which again, I agree with you. I actually like this pick more than Brandon Marsh, and I like it more in the location he got him too. So it's just, I don't know. I just don't know. And I get that maybe Dylan's looking at it as, I don't think he had many prospects before this draft, so he's just trying to open on prospects.
And that's totally fine. I think that's a very fine thing to do. I think what my methodology kind of was, why don't I just do that with my later round picks?
Sure. Because
you need the first couple rounds, like 2 or 3 rounds here, to get those established guys that you know can contribute to your team right now, that you could trade for, you know, hell, drafting Kyle Lewis right there, at least for me with 6 picks, I could probably trade him for easily a Nick Gonzalez or anything else like that. Like, look at like the drop off as far as a trade potential, and it's just not even close to me.
Yep.
And I don't even mean just Kyle Lewis. I mean Clint Frazier. I mean a lot of things. You know, maybe Clint Frazier is about even, but it's close. So,
Sandy Alcantara, pick 208. Loved that pick.
I loved it,
Derek.
Too.
So
I loved it too.
I think it was cool that Derek got a solid player, even though he only had his first pick in round 2. So following up after Clint Frazier, I really like that for him. And yeah, the Sandy man can, in my opinion.
That's such a good pick. That's such a good pick. He again is the top pitching prospect, or a top pitching prospect, that is finally in that 3rd year span where it's kind of the make or break. And then he had that good successful year last year. You know, he has the stuff. It was just, he's not getting the strikeout rate. he's not, is he going to go the Nathan Eovaldi route, or is he actually going to go the actual successful route? And he's looking like he's going to be pretty successful. He's a damn good pitcher.
Yeah, along with every other Miami pitcher at the moment.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see that team that's struggled forever now. Hopefully they're kind of going like the Cleveland route in the sense that all their pitching is just going to be insane. Now they just got to find the bats.
Yeah, it's just pitching's hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
You literally need to find it. And once a guy hits, it's just once you can kind of buy into kind of the new school of thinking too, you're able to get more inventive.
Yep. But I agree. And then there was another solid pick here on your end here, 209, Mike Yastrzemski. The only knock I have on him is his age. He's already 31 now, I think.
Yeah.
So
he's a win now player for sure.
Very much win now.
But he is a guy that has huge home run potential, huge RBI potential. Like, I mean, he's a 30 home run, 90 RBI hitter. And for me, I was ecstatic to get that this late in the draft. I actually had him going early second in my original picks.
Mm-hmm.
That's just to be able to guarantee that type of production out of a guy, because he had done it basically 2 years in a row. And he knew he was going to be the middle of the order hitter for San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I was very happy to get him. Even, I mean, for me, it worked out where he's just a really strong bench position I have now. He's the reason I've been able to deal with injuries. Like,
sure,
him and other guys have been the reason. This is why having some depth in your batting, especially with good players, is very important.
It's funny you say that. This is why I've said this before on the podcast. This is why I love the balance at the moment we have in our stats and like how our categories work and the different ways we've tweaked it. Because I actually think the best strategy is 5 and 5. 5 bench pitchers, 5 batters. That's the best way to guarantee that you're getting as many at bats as you can throughout the week and depth for injuries while also getting solid reps in your pitching.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're able to add those at bats with guys that are good, actual viable hitters that have a chance to hit a home run or get an RBI or just runs.
That's
here.
huge to plug those in the off days.
It is
like absolutely massive. And to be honest, it's one of the weaknesses on my team right now. I have way too many pitchers and I have like 2 batters on my bench. So
yeah, no, I get you for sure.
I was thrilled at 1 or 210 here to get Pablo Lopez, another kind of like not win now because he's still super young and another Miami pitcher.
Yeah,
I wanted Alcantara. Like my order was exactly these 3 picks. I wanted Alcantara and I was like, no, he got taken. And then I was like, all right, I'll take Yastrzemski for my outfield. No, I was like, well, at least Lopez is available. I'm happy with him and he's playing well this year. Already. So
yeah, I think he's one of the guys where I think I was in my pre-draft rankings. I didn't know enough about him. I knew about him a little bit, but I just thought he was like, oh, he's just a left-hander and he doesn't really throw that well. And which I didn't know, because then I watched him and I was like, oh, he actually has velocity. He actually looks good.
It's fun to watch.
For some reason, I thought he was like a touch lefty pitcher, like a Mark Burley. Like I didn't think he had the velocity.
Yeah.
But I mean, he throws like 95, 96 with downward action. And like, yeah, I had him originally early third. I think had I known more about him, I would have moved him up a little bit more. But I think he went, where he is supposed to go for the most part. But yeah, it's a solid pick right there. Again, especially at 210, or in most drafts.
If I can get a top 40 pitcher in my eyes at 210, that's amazing. Like the waiver wires right now, like about top, there's like no one inside the top 50 is really available. It's like the top 60 is about the line you're going to get from the waiver wire right now.
I think like Johnny Cueto is like the top pitcher you could get right now.
Yeah, he's like top 60.
Yeah,
arguably.
Yeah,
so that's my point exactly. Like that's how stacked this draft was.
Yep.
I mean, to put it in perspective, again, we're a 10-team league, so a top 40 pitcher is SP4.
Yeah.
Sounds great to me.
No, I completely agree. I think he at the time when I was looking at this, I was like, okay, he's kind of my last pitcher that I think is kind of he kind of was in his own little tier. I didn't have him in the Sandy Alcantara tier or anything like that.
No.
But I had him above kind of the other tier, a little bit above whatever was down there. So it made sense to me.
Yep. Yeah, and that's exactly why I had them ranked the way that you said it. I would much rather have Alcantara, don't get me wrong. His stuff is way more electric.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But it's still like a good pick, nonetheless.
Exactly. And then moving on to round 2.5 here with the comp pick. Dylan got Max Meyer, and I love Max Meyer. He's an alum player for us U of M guys.
Yeah.
So I think oftentimes it's kind of between like Oslo AC versus Max Meyer. You have your preference, but
yeah,
I don't fault anyone for picking their alum.
This was a totally fine pick to me. I didn't see anything wrong with it. This is the pick 211 was actually right where I had prospect starting pitchers starting to go at. And so it's crazy to watch that actually kind of play out. Yeah, this was a good pick. I'm more of an Asa Lacy fan, but it doesn't matter. And then it's especially though, there's something to be said about Max Meyer being on the Marlins and actually having that pitching, starting to have that pitching history a little bit versus Kansas City with Asa Lacy. I think he's on Kansas City.
It is Kansas City.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
It does make a difference.
It sure does. And that's, you actually, it's something you actually start to believe in. We're starting to see these continuous development patterns of certain teams. And it seems like it's more correlative than batting development. So that, and that makes sense to me. Like pitching is so much more about technique and mental space. Not that batting isn't, but I buy it. I buy into it. And great pick.
Yeah, it is a really good pick.
So who wins round 2? It's a lot more even.
It is really even from looking at it. I think if we want to go off guys,
you're trying to take away your bias of your own pick.
Yeah, I don't want to say. I'm going to go non-me. I'm going to say Gronley for this round. Sure. If I can't pick, I don't want to pick myself. This is not fun.
Yeah.
I want to pick Gronley because I think getting Dominic Smith with the 204 pick, honestly won him. This round.
That's the second steal of the draft.
Yeah.
I think it was Plesac and then Smith are by far the biggest steals so far in this draft. So, Kyle, I would say it's you that won this draft just because of Kyle Lewis predominantly. I like Yastrzemski. It's just like, when does his window close?
Yep.
So
I completely agree. That was tough. I would have said me too, just because of Kyle Lewis. I think Yastrzemski was like a nice pick for where I got him, but again, not like a huge deal maker. Right. But the Lewis, where he was to get Yastrzemski a little bit down, and then to get Lewis probably around after he should have gone, was the biggest thing. Probably me. But again,
still really like to highlight Gronley's pick.
Yeah, and again, my third, not to go down the full list, but there is something to be said about Derek getting Sandy Alcantara with 208. That's a great pick.
I completely agree. And then I would follow up by going on the other end of the spectrum and say the clear loser of the draft so far is Dylan. No offense, Dylan.
Yeah.
I just don't like those picks. Either of them.
The Nick Gonzalez in the second round is fine.
Yeah.
The Brandon Marsh is looking more and more.
Yeah, it looks worse the more you look at it. It's
really
like the clear blemish on the draft so far.
Yeah, it's like, would you actually take Brandon Marsh a full round above Kyle Lewis?
Yeah. I agree because I want to clarify. I don't mind the Nick Gonzalez there that much.
Yeah.
It's just the
full
blemish to Brandon Marsh.
Yeah.
And now just watch, because we said that Brandon Marsh by 2022 is going to be a god.
We could make the argument that maybe the worst pick this round, in my eyes, not the worst, not to harp on it, you could be right, is the Garrett Crochet pick at 203. Yeah, unfortunately.
And maybe even Tristan Casas, but that's not even that bad of a pick.
I don't think that's that bad of a pick personally, but either way, it's all close relatively. It's not like this is like a for sure by any means.
That's what's fun about drafts.
Yeah. It's just like, it is still out in the open, kind of, who's going to have the best players, who won't.
So normally for our drafts, this is about where the draft falls off. And I would say it would be fair to just quick go through each of the players and then talk about the round, but there's still some names here too. So I think it's fair to do due diligence and just go through this round like normal.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And then maybe by round 4, you can tell it drops off quite a bit.
Yeah, we could maybe just start picking a couple players
that
we want to highlight and then go from there.
But let's do this one fully.
Yeah, I agree.
Round 3, pick 301, Nick selected Zach Davies. Now, that's a name everyone knows, but that's about it. I don't like that pick at all. I think he's waiverable. I think he should still be on the waivers. I don't think he should be owned.
He was coming off another good year. He had a good year 3 years ago, and then a really bad year, and then had another good pick. And he went to a new team. So I think honestly, there is a lot of optimism when those up in the air guys go to a new team. And given the starting pitchers, in my opinion, that were actually left, I actually don't think it wasn't my number 1 pick for who I would have gotten for the starting pitcher at the time. But and I don't even mean that in a 2020 hindsight way. I'll explain my logic to that a little bit later. But he was a 3rd round guy. I always thought he was going to go in the 3rd round.
Late. See, that's where I disagree. I think he's like a late 3rd round guy. I just like, he was one guy that I looked a little bit into actually more after the draft because I was just curious about, he was the kind of guy that I always feel like if he has good numbers, the expected stats hate him. And it was actually like spot on because I just looked it up again quick for my own, because I couldn't remember offhand, but his xFIP was 4.14 last year. His xERA was 5.01.
Sure.
So it's like, okay, yeah, he had a breakout year, but how much is that actually sustainable? And then now we look at this year and he's struggling already.
And it makes sense. He doesn't have like super elite stuff.
No, he never did. Even a couple years ago, I remember when he was on the Brewers, he was never blowing anyone away with anything. He was just like a contact ground ball guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ugh. So I'm not gonna say I hate the pick, but okay, I can actually say I hate the pick. Okay. I don't think he's rosterable. I think he shouldn't have been picked in the draft. But that's maybe it's hindsight a little bit because we know more now 3 weeks in the season. So that's maybe rude of me to say that.
Yeah, given the other options that were there, again, like I said, he wasn't my top starting pitcher, but I thought he should have gone maybe late 3rd round.
Okay, that's fair. I'm probably a bit too harsh on it. Okay, then a pick that I do like is Asa Lacy or Asa.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, Asa AC. But we kind of both agreed that it's like push between him and Meyer because that's kind of how it was in the draft too.
Yeah.
When they got selected.
Yep.
So you could argue that like Asa Lacy has more electric stuff a little bit. So that's some people might like him more. And if I'm mad, I'm happy with that. Again, building his starting pitching up.
Yeah, that's a great pick. That's honestly exactly. I had him again going late 2nd round. So to me, he actually fell a little bit. Not a ton, but a little bit. And so I think that's a great pick for where Matt drafted him at. Also just having that potential for a left-handed pitcher where it throws hitters off. They're not, a lot of guys aren't used to that, but
right.
I'm excited to see it.
Me too. And then another pitcher from the same draft. Same, like almost the same location in the draft too for that 2020 year. Emerson Hancock. I like this pick from Anthony too.
I like this pick a lot. Yeah. I can't remember. Was it Emerson Hancock was from this last year?
I thought he was. Maybe
it was either that or 2 years ago. I can't remember.
Right.
But either one, he was.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because that's too many pitchers to be selected out. It wasn't Meyer, Lacy, and Hancock. You're right, I think.
Yeah, you can just look it up really quick while I talk. But to me, what I liked about him is he just has electric stuff. Again, he's on the Mariners. He's on a forward-looking team. Again, they don't have a great pitching track record, but I know for sure he was a top 10 pick, whichever draft he was in. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was 6th overall in 2020.
Okay, perfect. So so he falls.
That was a stacked pitching class.
Yeah, he falls right into there, and he's just. I don't know how it goes with some scouts, but there were guys in the top 10 that just like got no attention from prospect lists. And I was always like, I was kind of just like, why are they so low? Like Hancock compared to like Max Meyer or Asa Lacy was like a full, like huge margins below them, like not even in the same conversation, not even the same stratosphere. And I was like, why? I was like, this guy has electric stuff too. Why would you not like have a dart throw with him?
Yeah. So even though we didn't really like his last pick in Crochet, it's funny because I think this is where Crochet could have gone to.
Yeah.
Personally.
For sure.
So, but yeah, I love the Hancock pick. I don't love this much prioritization in batters, but the funny thing is now it's cool to look at this and talk with you about this draft now because I realize the batting prospects were kind of gone at this point in the draft, which is kind of why we're seeing all the pitching prospects now.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, like they were kind of just like your old hitters were left. Like there were some low guys, and I think we'll run into a couple here and there, but they definitely were dart throws. They were like your top maybe 100 guys that are like kind of on the outside looking in.
Yep.
So,
and then the next pick from Groundley. So again, in my opinion, another great pick in Joe Musgrove, especially for the win now kind of strategy. And Joe hitter has already paid off for him. So
yeah, I think 2020 hindsight, this is going to be the best pick in this round. For the sake of trying to keep it as consistent as possible, I don't think I'm going to say this was my best pick of the round. Just from a pre-2021 standpoint. I thought it was around the area he should have gone, maybe a little bit into the 4th. He just had been so inconsistent for me and he had always been hyped up to have the stuff, and you'd see.
Yeah, he has 4 pitches. Like he's always had it.
Yeah, but you just never saw him put it together, and it had actually been quite a few years already now for him. It's not like this is like his second year
Well,
or his third year. I don't think.
as a previous owner too, it was always his injury risk and then
Yep.
his ability to just like sometimes lose his stuff and then just be like just get rocked
Yeah.
for a night. Where like your consistent aces don't do that.
Yeah. And I mean, even with the good starts he's had, there still isn't a guarantee that he doesn't fall back down to earth.
No, but
like,
I think that we've seen enough now this year to I really like him now.
Yeah.
Like it's after 4 starts, I'm starting to, like he said, 4 solid starts. Now it's like, I'm starting to believe in it. And that's where I do think that in hindsight, this is the best pick of the round.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hindsight it is for sure. But, yeah, we'll see. I hope it continues for him. I do think, especially for the third round, I mean, he'll probably be a top 30 pitcher.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Yep. So you really must have liked Christian Javier. Not my favorite pick, but tell me what you like about
it. I like the age. I like the age and I like the team. Like, again, the Astros was my biggest indicator right there. I like the young factor with him. I like that. I just read articles about him having a high upside too. And I just thought that this was a year he could maybe try to put that together. I think, again, looking at it 2020 hindsight, he's actually had a fine. He got sent back down to the minors because
for Odorizzi.
Yeah, but he's going to be back up in late April. It's weird how they said that. I forget the reason. It had to do with the off schedule where they had so many off days. They were only going to use like a 4-man rotation.
Yep.
But he'll be back up by the end of the month. And he had, the first start was okay. And the second start was really good. So, I mean, he looks good and he's just young, which is what attracted me to him. And he had previous success pitching too.
I get it. And I'm honestly just trying to, it's the third round. So it's like tough not to like, these are all kind of flyers at this point. I just don't like them only because it's funny because that whole like pitching mentality kind of hits a breaking point when you have too many good pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Astros at that point, like, I don't think Javier, you have to remember, he's even going to have competition with Framber Valdez when he comes back. And then they still have Justin Verlander. Mm-hmm. So I just don't know where he fits. I could see him being one of those guys that gets shoehorned into a middle relief role.
He could be.
That's not a knock against him. It's the third round. I got to be fair.
Yeah. And no, that's fine. That's a fair criticism. I think Justin Verlander, to me, this is my hot take. I think he's done. I think he just got dropped in our league.
Yeah,
he's available.
Back up though.
Who did?
Derek did.
Oh, Derek did. Probably just to stash him.
But
yeah, I mean, he's gonna be 38 or 39 once he actually pitches again.
I agree.
And it's gonna be a year and a half off of pitching.
Yeah, but we always thought that before he got the injury, we thought, and I guess this is obviously now he has the injury, but we thought he'd be like Clemens, where he could be a good pitcher till he's 40.
I thought he'd be fine. I mean, I think part of it was the fact that he had such good health. And the longevity factor.
He was always crazy for not ever having to get Tommy John.
Yes, exactly. It was the fact that he was able to stay healthy so many years.
Wow.
And like you just thought he was in perfect shape there. And then all of a sudden injury like this happens. And to me, it actually does derail a lot within a progression of a time. I mean, it's a tough thing to try to re-find yourself at 39 years of age.
Oh, is he going to be that old? I think he's going to be like, by next year, he'll be 37. Oh, no, 38. Yeah, he's 38 right now.
Yeah, so
next year, he'll be 39.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's old, dude.
That is old.
I don't know.
You got to have respect for the man. He's like the best, one of the best pitchers.
I mean, he should be owned. I actually agree with that. He should be stashed away on somebody's IR or IL, whatever. But yeah, anyways, not to harp on Justin Verlander and turn this into a conversation about him, but like there's him. So I actually don't know if he'll be back. And then Odorizzi is, I think, signed to a 2-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how that goes. It's Odorizzi. I think it's just if you perform, you will be in that rotation. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And
it is a lot of competition. That
there is competition for sure. But again, he had a good season last year, and I was just banking on the fact that he could have it this year. Again, I'm trying to look at it more from an independent perspective of how do I think he is as a pitcher? Do I think he's good as a pitcher? And I think he has a very good breaking ball as a pitcher.
Mm-hmm. But so you're really hoping that the first base wars in Boston are going to work out in your favor with Bobby Dahlbeck here.
Yeah, I did. He's already been dropped.
Yeah.
Well, I watched enough games during spring training and saw how he clobbered the Twins.
Yeah.
And then also last year he had 5 games in a row that he hit a home run.
Yeah.
To end out the season. So I was like, this guy's like high potential. And then he just did nothing this first 3 weeks. He could barely touch the ball. And I was like, yep, later.
Right.
But at this, I was pretty excited for him. This will probably go down as the 2020 hindsight too. I should have made the next selection for my selection.
Yeah, that is funny. That was going to be my segue naturally. So Sam got Houston Kjerstad, who always reminds me of Kirsten Hura just because of his name. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he's already, to me, his stock has risen to like, at least he probably could have gone like late second if we knew what we know now. So I like that pick for Sam again.
Yeah, I do too.
Sam just slamming the draft left and right.
Everybody was so fearful of him because of the power and like a lot of movement, but he was the number 2 pick in the draft for a reason.
Right.
People loved his bat.
Yep.
And they loved his ability to hit and to hit to all field. Like, I don't know. So I think it's a really good pick. I think a lot of scouts don't really like him. I think he could be one of those guys that scouts don't like. Not like the ESPN ad where like gym trainers hate him, but it'll be like scouts might not love him, but he'll be like Hunter Pence and he'll just get the job done.
Yeah. I mean, he's ranked 61 in MLB's prospects. So
yeah.
Have that what you will. Yeah, I like the pick too. Just again, fits Sam's exact mold, what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
And then Derek taking Jose Garcia. I'm not going to pretend to know who this is.
This is the first person I didn't know who he was in the draft. When I saw this, I was like, what? Who? Yeah. So I still am like, who? I don't think I still know.
I'm glad you agree. Okay. It's good to see like level set to see where our knowledge of players is. And yeah,
it fell off. I'm assuming this is some guy he had to keep tracks of in his job and found him and was just like, I'm going to get him in the 3rd round. He's got some magical feature about him.
Speaking of that, now that Derek is basically the sponsor of our league now. I'm surprised he hasn't tried to wield making it sure that we didn't have to pay league dues now that they do the official stat tracking.
I saw that. Yeah.
You saw that alert on.
Do you think he actually changed the scoring for himself? He's just like, no, I got a point.
That's one more home run for me.
For me. Losers.
Okay. I'm glad you didn't know who this was.
Nope. Still don't.
So and then Sam took a player that I remember him joking about how there was another player that has a very similar name to Ha-Seong Kim. But this is the better one. I forget who the other, like there's another Kim or Jim or something.
Kim or Jim. Oh no.
I like this pick. Just again, nothing much to say here other than the fact, like he's like, if I remember correctly, he's like super small. Like he reminds me of that one, maybe this is just racist, but who is that Twins prospect?
Oh, Nishioka?
Nishioka. Kind of reminds me of him.
Okay. Yeah. I don't like him at all. Okay. I literally saw him during spring training. He could barely make contact. And it was just like clear that it seemed like he couldn't adjust. And he still isn't doing anything. So confirmation bias. But again, I just always questioned where they were going to play him. And I guess they've been finding places. But like Jake Cronenworth had a good season at second base last year. Like, I was like, oh, he should be fine right there. Like they shouldn't like need him. And then obviously like your left side of the infield is fully utilized. Like I just didn't know where they were going to put him. And so it's kind of what I always wondered about him too. And we'll see how he goes and how he develops. But yeah, he wasn't a player I was specifically interested in. I think he had a lot of stolen base potential. Yeah. Maybe that's where people liked him.
Yeah. He had 23 steals in 2020 shortened season. So, or I guess
wasn't this his first year?
I'm reading right now. Oh, this is in the KBO. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. 30. He had 30 homers, 23 steals in 138 games. So
sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
But so moving into I guess that's the last pick except for mine, and I took Trevor Rosenthal, who I thought was a steal at the time, and then now he's getting freaking shoulder surgery. There was no concern from him at all when I drafted him. He was just, he's the closer. He's got the job. I was like, hell yeah, I get a bona fide closer here. And yeah, now the pick is still good. He's going to be the closer when he comes back, but it just sucks.
Yeah. I thought the pick was fine when I saw it. I was actually upset that I knew he wasn't going to drop to me. But you know, in the next round or anything, cause I was like, oh, he's a good he's like one of the last good relievers left that you could have. So yeah, I completely agree. I thought he went where he should have went, in my opinion. But maybe a little bit higher given some of the other guys. But then again, some of the guys from the later rounds I thought should have gone earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of different things there. So
all right, let's go into round 4 here and just quickly highlight.
Do you want to do a winner of round 3?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I like doing that. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do want to do a winner of round 3. Who should it be? I like the Joe Musgrove pick. I think we kind of identified the 4. No one had like 2 solid picks here necessarily to like dominate the winning. So I think I would go with Groundley here.
I actually think for me, I would go without being able to look at it from 2020 hindsight perspective.
Yeah.
I would actually say I actually thought it was going to be Sam or Matt.
Okay.
I liked the Asa Lacy pick. Again, I thought that was supposed to be a late second round pick. So I thought that was a good drop. And then for the Heston Kjerstad, I thought that was supposed to be a top of the round 3, which fell then to him. And I think as far as a teammate, it just helped out his team so much. That was my pick where I was like, wow, that's to get the number 2 drafted hitter in the 3rd round.
That's pretty crazy.
Seems like, yeah, that seems pretty crazy to me. So that held a lot of value to me. But
and we liked Emerson Hancock too.
Yeah, I did. I thought he could have gone actually a little bit lower, but I think that's a fine spot for him anyways. Like it was kind of just a dart throw with any of those guys. But
yeah, even just recapping that round makes it clear why we're just going to jump through round 4.
Yeah.
So that's what's nice about having the visual aid. We don't have to rattle off everyone that got drafted here. So any picks that jump out to you here?
Daniel Lynch. Just for the sake of like where he had previously been drafted.
Yeah. Well, was he first round?
Yeah, he was the 2nd overall pick in a mid-season draft by Max.
Yeah. Oh, Max.
Yep, that's the one that got us all confused.
Yeah, that was probably his first kick out the door.
Yeah, that was tough. That didn't make any sense. He was a highly drafted pitcher, which I guess I got, but like he's on Kansas City and anyways, it's interesting to finally see him kind of get taken where he should be, which is a flyer, which is a late round flyer.
Right.
It's tough for me to kind of comment on most of these guys. I don't know who most of these guys are.
Well, I will say, because again, I looked at a lot of these players, and the one I remember was Eric Pena, because he's like one of those super young guys, like Jason Dominguez. Like he's like 17 and he's super like he's the kind of guy that like if he turns out he's gonna be a freaking like he is the high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Because if he turns out for how good he is right now at his age, he's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
So
and that's what I tried to get with Austin Hendrick also. I don't know if you know who he is. He's an outfielder for the Cincinnati Reds. He was just drafted this last year, probably number 11 or 12 overall. Kid out of high school. He's got massive power, but again, it's just can he develop into that power? So that's where I got him from, and he's ranked as one of the best hitters in this draft for prospects. I think the one I actually want to address really quick, who I actually thought was like my steal of this round, actually is Will Myers. How Will Myers to me dropped to the 4th round, I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, because he's been on like 6 different teams, but so people just don't want to trust him again.
Yeah, he's a good outfielder.
I know
like,
he is.
He to me is like a guy that's like maybe not top 100, but he's not like that far off of it. I mean, he's putting up a great season this year too. Like if I had to name a player that's my takeaway from like who was the steal of this round, I'm saying Will Myers.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, so, I mean, I really liked Jordan Romano here too.
Sure,
for the save hold leagues, but and obviously Justice Sheffield. If he ever really fully develops and turns out.
Yep. Same with Valdez too.
Valdez owned several times, and I like Valdez. That's why I picked him there.
He's got a lot of deception. He's a great. You know, we knew that he had an injury with him.
Honestly,
so
Valdez to me is like fell. I thought he was gonna be a 2nd rounder before his finger injury.
Sure.
I think he pretty much only fell because of his finger injury. So
yeah, I think so too. I think he is a prime example of a guy like Christian Javier that I don't know where he's gonna be. If he's going to be in the rotation or if he's going to be in the bullpen.
Yeah. I thought that he was going to have the job over Javier was the reports I was seeing. But anyway.
And he might have if he was healthy.
If he's healthy.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So still a fun round, but not as many like electric picks. None of these guys are necessarily going to make or break a team in the future or now.
I agree.
So who wins that round in your eyes?
I still think it's Nick. The Will Myers pick
for Will Myers alone.
Yeah. The Will Myers pick to me is just so good. I mean, there's a lot of high risk, high reward, and I get it. But Will Myers to me is just he's just such a good outfielder, and he's gonna play on a team that's gonna get runs. Like, and he's already putting up a good season. Not to again using a 2020 hindsight, but
it's 2021, Cody.
2021 hindsight, but like he's good. He's good. He's very good.
Yeah. How good is he?
Very good.
So to me, round 5 is even harder to evaluate because even more players that I don't really know. I know the guys that are playing in the majors.
Yeah, this one's really tough. There are a couple guys, mainly on the. I think this round was like the guys that got drafted where I'm like they actually should have been in like the third or fourth round.
Yeah, one
That's
of those guys is Dylan Bundy.
Yeah. Oh my.
That's
Dylan Bundy should have been like in the second or third round.
Yeah,
I
I agree.
actually think that.
Yeah, I was between him and Valdez. I went with Valdez because I like his.
Yeah.
I just like him more.
He's younger.
Yeah, he's younger, and Dylan Bundy. I always feel like every year is his breakout year. I'm sick of that.
Dylan Bundy is like the Joe Musgrove.
Yep.
Just not as good of stuff, but he is kind of similar there, where they come from like just a lot of disappointing years, and then they finally had a good year. And then you're like, can I believe in this?
Yeah, and that's why I didn't want to take him, and I'd rather have Framber, but I love the pick.
I think it's so good for the fifth round.
Yeah, he's definitely rosterable.
Yep.
It makes me go back to who was it in the second round that I shit on, or maybe it was the third round. Oh, it was Zach Davies. It makes me go back to Zach Davies and say, okay, if you're gonna take Zach Davies, why don't you take Dylan?
You should have taken Dylan. Yeah, for sure. I agree. I completely agree. And I mean, like, I had some differences. I know once you get to Joe Musgrove and Christian Javier versus Dylan Bundy, I thought about that too.
Yeah.
And to me, it was the young potential of these guys that I liked. I like the ceiling a little bit higher than Dylan Bundy, but Dylan Bundy's a reliable starter right now that you're getting in the fifth round, which is nuts. Like, this is like when Derek a couple years back got like Jake Odorizzi in the fifth round, and then he turned out to be like a mid-3s ERA. Like, they're not going to be your top 5 starting pitchers, but they're the guys you have on your bench that you can throw in there for a start, and they're going to do great. Right. Those are the guys that actually do create separation.
Yep, exactly. One other player I really liked was Santander.
Yeah,
for Matt. I mean, he plays for Baltimore, so that sucks. But his name's come up quite a bit this year already. Like, he's hitting well.
Yep.
So like he's a classic example of a rosterable bat that you play on off days.
Yeah,
which is valuable.
Same thing with Urshela.
Yeah.
The fact you got Urshela with the last pick is fucking nuts.
Yeah, that is
crazy.
I didn't want to say my own player.
Crazy. Yeah. I know. I know you didn't, but that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
This is a guy that's getting drafted.
Yeah.
In almost every single league.
Yeah, he's having another good season.
We're saying round 5 picks should be those guys that you take as a late flyer that you're like, oh, if I want to really keep them, I can.
Right.
That's like not what happened.
No,
it's like
Urshela is like in redraft. He's like a starter in a lot of teams.
Yeah, he's like to me, he's the epitome of a bench third baseman that you're really happy with.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, that's why this draft was so great, is that like every round there was at least a couple players that you could still hit with. So it just goes to show again how much vigilance and paying attention matters so much in a draft, especially with a draft of this power level. It can really make or break a team.
It's crazy to see already in our league too, who like has already come off the board from free agency that we missed in the draft that should have been drafted. Guys like Akil Baddoo.
I don't know if he necessarily was even really known yet, though, by the time of our draft.
I'm not saying,
go ahead.
I was going to say he had a big spring training already. Yeah. And the fact that he had already gotten the cement or he had already gotten, the role for the Detroit Tigers. They already said that they were going to play him.
Yeah.
And so to me, because I considered drafting him in this, but then I was like, he probably won't. He's probably just a spring training guy. You can't really believe in it.
And he's been contributing to Anthony being the best batting team in the league, right?
Yeah. So, he's been very good, but he's been my best free agent so far that I would say that I've seen. But I might be forgetting some too. But
there's a couple of good pitchers that have been picked up, like always. There's always those breakout
guys. I was really sad because I dropped Steven Matz, and then Matz got picked up, and it looks like I should have fucking dropped Corey Kluber.
Yeah, holy crap. I don't think
but yeah, anyways, not to get into my team too much, but like there have been some really good starting pitcher pickups for sure. Guys that are just having solid numbers right now.
Well, let's end on who won the draft. Whose name has come up a lot in our discussions here?
You know, from the perspective of who needed to assign what their biggest needs, what agrees with their team, it has to be Sam to me.
Yeah.
I think it's either Sam or it's Gronley.
Yeah, Gronley had the one blemish, but other than that, great.
The fact that he was able to get Joe Musgrove and get Corbin Burns, to me, it's like those are two great starting pitchers. And then even, who James Karinchak, he's still a good reliever that he's going to have right there as well. I forget who else Gronley got. Did he get somebody in the second round? Or no, I don't think he did.
No, that was his blemish pick. I thought we had said.
Oh, right.
There's we didn't like. Was that Brandon Marsh? No.
No. I think we were saying originally that let me take a look here. Yeah, Gronley. No. His second round. Actually, Gronley's close to being my winner. He had Dominic Smith.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was. That's
a huge pick.
Yeah, Gronley. I mean, Gronley. So then let's just
the blemish
two
was
categories.
Check. Yeah.
Yeah, but that wasn't even that bad.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it doesn't even look that bad. I think for win now, Gronley wins the draft.
Yeah, for sure.
Future, which are the two categories for dynasty, Sam won.
Yep, 100% agree.
Yep,
It's
and then everyone else, we had a ton of people that had good drafts too.
Yeah, I think everybody at least got a player that is going to help their team immensely, or especially late players that are going to help their team. So it's exciting to see.
It was. Well, that's the podcast. Do you have any other last thoughts to share, Coach?
Start looking into that mid-season draft. We'll be doing that around the All-Star break.
Want me to start looking into that already?
Start looking into it. Get ready for it. See who the prospects are, because it's going to come on faster than you know it.
It's true.
But also start looking into if you want to trade with any of those picks. If you do, just let me know that it's agreed upon in the trade, and I can get that adjusted for you in the Google sheet. But I actually did see a report, by the way. This is more broad knowledge, that for Fantrax, they are trying to work on multiple drafts during the year, but they still haven't had that developed yet. But maybe eventually we can actually move to a system where we're able to have 2 drafts a year, and we can do it all on Fantrax, and then you can actually just trade them straight up, and you don't need to,
Counter proposal. We don't do the draft on Fantrax at all because that freaking draft software is awful.
That part was not great. The part where it decided just to auto draft everybody was not a lot of fun. Do regret that. Yeah. But other than that, once we finally got it working, it worked out well.
But it's just so I want something that looks clean and polished. Like
it does not look.
Or ESPN. Yeah. It's like for how good the rest of their team management software is, their draft is terrible.
Yeah, that's really strange. I hope that they can get that fixed and make it a little bit more intuitive.
Looks like the first draft software that was developed in the 90s.
Yeah, it actually does. It looks like just chicken scratch was written around, and I'm like, oh, who did I draft?
Not a fan.
Yeah, not a Fantrax.
Not a Fantrax. Sponsored by Derek. Yeah, thanks everyone for watching our draft recap. Just this one-off special episode for extra content. Breaking news. You should be expecting a guest, but we'll keep that a surprise. There will be a guest on the podcast coming up for the next podcast for week number 2 recap. So look forward to that. And I think everyone should be subscribed, so you'll get an alert when this podcast is live.
Yeah, and I think we'll also send out an alert on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Do something to actually kind of get you guys a little bit more involved.
I agree. And on that note, thanks again for listening to the Midwest Dynasty Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We'll talk to you guys again soon.
Peace.